Hey everyone, let me know if you can hear me. I didn't really publicize this one other than putting the reminder up if you visit my channel. So yeah, try to make these regular, at least once a week could be good. Testing. Okay. Remember guys, if you want to ask a question, bracket it with emojis, just so I can visually see it on the stream as it scrolls down. Emojis or symbols, make it stand out. I wanted to start off first, probably, in response to a few, not questions, but a few comments that guys typically get that were in the comment section. Good, you can hear and see me. Hey, real name's not given. All right. My last couple of videos is about, because I think that most guys, including me in the past, almost all the time, less and less so as you kind of get older, wake up, start to be aware of your actions. You're not on autopilot all the time, and you're trying to make sure that you're living ethically and morally, right? Just for yourself predominantly. And my videos were kind of talking about dropping the alpha act, the macho act. Now, there's nothing wrong, I understand, when trying to find how to behave as you're growing up, you imitate. You see in the world what works as a man, what you admire as a man, what other people respond to, you, families, women, societies, so forth. And so there's nothing wrong with any of that. I'm saying where you completely forget to speak what you think, talk in your way, what you're interested in, so forth, where you hand over your interests and how you speak and what you want to talk about, basically who you are in private or with the very personal people in your life, like your family or friends or whatever. The only people you really feel like you can be yourself. That is the difference. I wasn't talking about not trying to be the best guy you can, not trying to be strong mentally and physically. I was not saying being weak. And this is a typical comment that came from a guy. I'm not going to name him, but it's something that comes from society and women, which I'm personally kind of sick of. And people like this won't care. They'll say, oh, well, good. Because these people are sadistic. They get off on this kind of beating and whipping people in this kind of tough love mentality in a world that's awash with, say, how can I put it without sort of having the red lights go off on this platform, when guys are 4 times as likely to you know what than females do. It sort of tells you that we need less and less of this. We need more understanding. A guy who remains nameless, but who pretty much echoes sadistic behavior, female narcissistic behavior, society's expectations of men. He said, sorry to let you know, men, but actual alphas don't put on an act. They don't need to. They couldn't give less of a crap about rejection. They are driven by passion, principle, fine, and have little regard for what others think of them, fine. I agree. Only the narcissist puts on an act like this dude describes. Not necessarily. Some people are just trying to fit in and they're trying to imitate what they think works, but in a nice way. They're not being narcissistic. They're not being narcissistically sort of using and abusing people. At best, I think you could say they're narcissistically being codependent by trying to impress people. And if you're one of these narcissistic actors, then I'm sorry to break it to you, but you'll never be a man. You'll never be able to drop the act because that's the only thing you can do. Do like act like someone better than you while you try to, I agree with that. Act like someone better than you if you can, but no, act like the person you want to be, a better person that is you, a better version of yourself. While you try to keep secret for the fact that you are literally human scum. See, helpful attitude, man. Hate to have this person on a desert island where you have to resort to survival, rely on survival, and try and rely on someone like this. This person does not cooperate. This person does not have empathy. This is an example of a narcissist calling other people narcissists. Many of you are less than narcissists who were unable to pull off the act, and I'm sorry about your lives. No, you're not. There is only one solution to your problem, and society would be better off without you. See what I mean about the doublespeak? The projection. You're the narcissist, but society would be better off without you. You know, you'll never be a man, blah, blah, blah. It's such a load of BS, I swear. But it's not a point to pile on anyone like this. I just wanted to give the example of what is kind of what I'm personally, what I learn from, what I try and not get too annoyed at, but to realize what you're not, what you don't need to live up to, because putting on the act is putting on the act for people, women, society, exactly like this person. Now tell me, if you had a friend like this, would you be able to trust them? If you had a woman with this attitude, would you be able to trust her? If you had family, would you feel like they'd be home for you, that you could count on them? Thanks for the donation, Ben. I appreciate it, mate. Ben asks, the only place I found where I get support from other men is my church. Let each man find his own path, and that is the only authentic place for me. Fair enough. Basically, take the medicine that suits you as long as you're not hurting other people. And it's not about being weak. There's no point competing with men and having these kind of combative attitudes. Again, if these were primitive times, this kind of man wouldn't be in my tribe because I couldn't trust him. This person sounds like a Judas calling you a narcissist, while every sentence of his drips with narcissism and having a boot on someone's neck and laughing about it. And his language did. Women do this very often. Society does it sometimes less smugly than other times, but yeah, just wanted to show it as an example of what I was saying. Drop the mask, be a strong and better person so you don't have to unwittingly sometimes please people, because this person's attitude that I just read is sometimes your father or your mother growing up when you've had awful parents. If you grew up in a small town, you couldn't find friends, and the only friend you had was an a-hole like this, and that's what you put up with, and then you get conditioned by someone like this, and in the future you find yourself around these kind of people because you don't know any better. All in all, bad news all around. Okay, people, throw me your questions. While you throw me your questions, I'll read some comments that were on the same page of what I was going towards. And it's one of the great things about some of the videos I'm doing is I'll talk about something and your guys' comments further the conversation, think about things I never would have thought about, more introspective things, some of which I've actually showcased in videos on their own recently because I was so good. Things I wouldn't have been able to say. For instance, David S. said, sometimes it's hard for a man to find his authentic self. It's also hard to be self-aware enough to know if what you are right now is truly authentic. I know you're saying authentic, but that word's gotten such a bad rap these days. I find it hard to even say that word, but I know what you mean. In other words, you don't know where you are going and you don't even know where you are. That's true. That's pretty much the definition of being lost. No answers from me, except to say that although you may be lost, your cause is not lost. A man keeps trying, keeps searching for that authenticity because a man does not give up. But it's not easy. Exactly. I agree with your sentiment 100%. These are the kind of sentiments. This is what I'm trying to work towards. This is what I'm trying to think towards. This is what I'm trying to better myself with. And just trying to have a conversation with you guys and see if it can help you, give you something to chew on, improve your life, hopefully. Not that I want to tell you what to do, but I want people to have to enjoy their lives a bit more, as I'm trying to. Corey said, as a very big man, have to present myself as the big, happy-go-lucky, nice person who tries to make everyone happy. Because if I just be myself, people get intimidated, scared, and the tough guy characters always try to start problems. I can identify with some of this. I don't know how tall you are. I'm 6'2", and I'm fairly broad-shouldered. But I know what you mean. As I was growing up, I had a sense of what persona worked with people and what didn't. And you're already insecure enough growing up trying to find answers that the private things that you don't show anyone, that you barely show your family members, when you actually see the things that kind of people respond to in public, you think, oh, they're nothing like the private me, so I won't even attempt to show that. He continues, people get intimidated, scared, and the tough guy characters always start problems. I have to emasculate myself on a daily basis in order to have peace. I don't want to fight people all the time, and I don't want people who approach me to be scared. It affects everything from mannerisms to clothing I wear. It's probably why I spent a long time thinking it was okay to try and change myself for a partner too. Exactly. This kind of self-reflection is what's needed for guys. This is a kind of introspective strength I'm talking about. Clarity. I mean, doesn't necessarily mean you have to be strong. It's nothing about strength is important. I would say courage more than strength. More so just let go, man, and be who you are, and F people who don't fit in. You know, they're not that attractive that you need to bend yourself that far. They're not that funny. They're not that great to be around. Unless you're not having your low-level Maslow needs met, then I see no need to debase yourself and put on an act. How's this color profile? I always try a slightly different color profile every time I do a stream just to sort of see what works. There's one or two I haven't been happy with. I didn't like the last one very much. I was a bit too, looked like I was in summer, which isn't what it's like at the moment. I'm in the middle, I'm on the tail end of winter. All right, back to the questions and enough of me blabbing. Eric says the alpha omega construct only works for biologists studying predatory mammals. This is true. The matrix analogy fits much better. Even that one isn't perfect. It's true. I think a lot of these alpha types, sadistic types, when they're naturally that way inclined, it's easy for them to always gravitate towards the bias. What is wrong with me? Gravitate towards the bias of animal behavior, what you see on documentaries, the lion taking down the gazelle, being in its pride, being the kind of alpha, but then they conveniently avoid that young lions die quickly, that these alphas have a short life, and they'll say, well, that's the heroic thing to do, burn bright and die young. I don't agree. If you want to read more, know more, travel more, experience life more, it kind of necessitates prolonging your life and cooperating with others, because the more you think that way, you kind of need to have people. You need to have friends. You need to interact with people in life. If you keep burning bridges by being some sort of alpha and continually moving on, I don't know. I don't find it appealing. But be an alpha and see your flame keep burning out quickly over and over again. and tough loving yourself like an alpha, hating yourself internally and moving on. Great. Not for me. Real names not given asks, how can you help someone who doesn't know they're acting? That's a hard one, because even the kind of language, if you talk to, I think it's the person that's starting to move towards some sort of self-reflection. It's usually around people in midlife, or people who are, I've noticed, creatively interested or interested in reading and literature, stories, movies, structure, narrative, things like that, where they don't, in a zombie-like fashion, sit there passively and let the movie or music just wash over them. They listen to lyrics. They listen to this. They watch the story. They look at the structure and they look at the meaning between the two things. They can see concept connections. That's a really big part. But people that that have no interest, and at worst they resist you talking philosophically, even at a very basic level, when you kind of say, do you think this might mean this, or do you think people that are like this really are thinking or acting this way because of blah, blah, blah? And if these people, their first reaction is, oh God, they're just very resistant to creatively looking at ideas like that, especially everyday ideas, there's no real point. Those kind of people will reflexively fight you. But for the people that find it interesting, you find those people go, oh, that's interesting, or how did you think up that? So even if they can't speak to you that way, they find it, there's a gravitational pull towards that. They find it refreshing, that you want to talk about that. I think those people have more of a chance. But the people that are completely uninterested and they're acting and you can see it, and I think where I've noticed, and I've been guilty of it in the past when I was really trying to find my path forward, is trying to fit in, especially say online when I started making videos. You feel completely alone, exposed, people are watching you. And when I started talking to people on, not just the comment section, but the real test is on Discord, via Q&As, real conversations one-on-one with people, is trying to find that connection between really showing as much of who I am and exposing myself to complete strangers like this. And the good thing is that I've noticed for myself has happened is it's allowed me to be myself more. And I think, you guys can believe or not, but the more I show myself, the less fear I have of actually not wearing a mask. Like, the mask is less and less there. There are moments when there's formal situations, you're at a wedding, you're at work, things like that, where it calls for having some sort of civil and formal mask on. Not to the degree that you're being completely fake, but you know how to act. You have tact in certain situations, your limits of speech and things like that. But long-winded answer, people who where you can see they're putting on an act and they'll resist you, there's no point. The good thing is you're aware of it, because there's more chance of you than you not doing it. And then you'll actually start meeting and befriending people who are on your page, and you'll find it comfortable. This is the tricky thing. If you're always acting and you don't know how to be anything else, that's the only pattern, then you comfortably associate with other people that put on the same act, but none of you are comfortable. Case in point, I described being in a relationship with a woman where you're not introspective, you're putting on the boyfriend act, in my case. The woman, she's putting on her girlfriend act, the way she thinks a girlfriend should act in this situation, and you both go through lives playing roles. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate the super chat, man. I'll answer your question in a sec. So, yeah, I think the most important thing here is to be aware when you're acting and to be more yourself as much as possible, like I'm trying to do here. And it's not big noting myself. I think it's healthier because I've had better friendships, better communication. I can express myself better. I'm enjoying my life, expressing myself better, and just doing whatever I want. I'm truly going down my path more than I was 3, 5, 10 years ago when I was curious but didn't know the language, didn't know how to take the steps. So as you do it, you come across other people and that kind of expands. But to try and hammer and save people who are going to fight you, I would suggest find better things to do with your time. Mainly point that time towards yourself and people who are like-minded. But be sympathetic. Try and offer and help and talk to people, because some people who are acting might be in pain. But if they're resisting you, what can you do, really? I'm trying to be practical here too. Hi, everyone. A lot of familiar faces, which is great to see. Thanks, guys, for continuing to drop in. Yeah, like I said, I didn't really publicize this one. I just thought I'll put it up, and if people see the future notification on the homepage, they will. We've got about half the numbers as usual, but that's all right. We usually had about 160 to 180. Now we've got about almost 100 people, which is fine by me. Yeah, I'm still in lockdown. Really weird. I was talking yesterday with someone, and I said, you know what? It's no surprise that the richest people in the world are making the most profits. I was hearing recently that, the Google guy made like a 30% profit, which is already a billionaire. That's massive. All these Fortune 500 people are making like between 30 to 40% profit in these times, while the world's going downward. So there's more fear instilled today. What I've noticed, I was talking to someone yesterday, was that it's funny, especially in Victoria with our lockdown, you can't leave your property after 8 p.m. You got to show your papers. They've imbued now with what's going on with this pestilence the same societal fear as you would during World War II. So we're in a warlike societal fear without the war. That's what they've done. And it's no surprise that after World War II, they restructured society, and society moved irrevocably in a different direction. That's what's happening now. And they're even telling you, this is going to be this way in one way or another going forward. We're never going to go back. The old lives, the kind of good, comfortable lives we had, they're gone, unfortunately. It's not all doom and gloom, but it's never going to be as left-leaning as what it was. I'm assuming, because we're more fear-based now in society, which is a good thing. I'll need to hear about the left less and less. That's the good thing. Mark asks, do you find you desire to date, I think that's women, more and more the older you get? Oh, do you find desire to date waning more and more the older you get? Sorry, I'm assuming some people write women woman to avoid the algorithm. I thought you were doing the same thing, but yeah, waning, I know what that means. For you youngsters, it means it goes down, it dissolves. My favorite short poem from Bukowski is as the spirit wanes, the form appears. Very, very poignant. Okay, back to the question. Do you find your desire to date waning more and more the older you get? Yes. I'm in my early 40s and already feel it. It's liberating. Yes. The desire's still there, but it's when you're younger, it's an addiction. Now it's kind of a low level interest. You can take it or leave it, and that's a good thing. You can discern whether you can take it or leave it. The more hormonally charged you are, there's less and less of a choice. This is the thing. There are so many intelligent men men with genius level IQs. When it comes to love, romantic love, reproduction, light switch, they become an effing idiot, me included. So, again, look at Elon Musk. What, 4 or 5 kids, 3 different women? And I think that's why I try and ignore people that say, oh, you just talk about women, go your own way. Men make the biggest fools of themselves. The most intelligent man becomes a fool, generally, when it comes to women, the opposite sex, because of the biological factor involved. It usually doesn't affect you being an idiot and making decisions that you're embarrassed of, that you should have known better. Generally, it doesn't affect men as much when it doesn't come to love and relationships. That's why if you can get a man calibrated correctly and he's awake to that, I think most of other things in life are nothing. I know for myself, I don't have a problem with anything in life, and people reflect it to me. I don't stress about anything. Not much annoys me. I know where I stand. I know my boundaries and limits. I've always had a problem in the past with relationships. Well, the society wouldn't be here if we didn't continually jump off that cliff because it was so addictive. That mirage is hard to not see. So, but yes to your observation, Mark, and question. Yes and yes. Any news on new revelations from your friend who is engaged? No, due to the lockdowns, he can't go out with his fiance, or soon to be fiance, I think, but she's sort of coming over. So I think that kind of he's enjoying just having her to herself and pretending to have happy families. But I notice she still doesn't live with him. Look, again, I know, gentlemen, I know. He's kicked her out. They tried to live together once in the past. He kicked her out, and he was trying to beat his chest and saying, "See, I had enough of her. I kicked her out." He was proud of saying that, and I thought, yeah, great, but you want to marry her. So they still catch up with each other because I think in Victoria you're still allowed to see your partner, which is a stupid thing. I think you can see a stranger you just met that you're hooking up with, that's your boyfriend or girlfriend or not even, but I can't go and see a close lifelong friend or a family member that's more than 5 kilometers away. But that doesn't apply to, doesn't make sense. But anyway, he's doing okay. One of my friends is now in the same boat. I hope I can help him, but I know that I can't force it. Exactly. Be there, talk to him, be the voice of reason. This is what sort of therapists do. Not that I'm claiming to be a therapist or good psychologist, is they let you figure things out yourself by being the neutral arbiter of the conversation. Be there, talk to him the way you feel like he wants to talk. Like my friend, he wants to open up and talk to me in a certain way, and I keep engaging him in that conversation and inserting what I think, I'm being honest, but in sympathetic, understanding ways, so that I know there's a reason why he's talking to me a lot, because he knows my points of view on these topics. He's wanting to make sure he knows what's happening. So yeah, I agree. You can't force it. Next question. Daniel, I like the color profile. How and what do you use to do that? Ah, cool. Tech questions. I'm a nerd underneath all of this. Camera's a GH5. I stream through Streamlabs OBS, and I add through the video source. You can actually right click on the video source and add a LUT. So you can add LUTs through this, which is a lot of fun. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. So before each stream, I kind of just flick through depending on the weather outside. Right now it's kind of a cool, overcast, cloudy grey day. So certain LUTs kind of look better with this. Whereas if it's a bright summery day, I probably need to choose something else that's more appropriate. Dunstan, how do I increase my patience tolerance with women? Everyone I meet just seems to hate and blame men. Touching on what I mentioned before, the more addicted to you are to sex and women, and that kind of just chemically comes the younger you are generally. Some men are lucky enough to be wired that they can control it more than others. I couldn't control it much at all. Uh, my hormones just got smothered completely. Other than the most egregious aspects of female nature, like if she was actually holding my hand and saying, "Oh, let's jump off this cliff," or "Let's get married," they were hard limits, and I'm grateful I had those. You know, moving in, marriage, unprotected sex, just really reckless behavior. And because I had my parents in the back of my mind behind me, kind of knowing that I'd have to deal with all of that and the consequences of stepping off that cliff with a complete stranger that's a lunatic, no matter how sexy she looks, that was a hard limit. Have hard limits as much as you can, but as to kind of stopping yourself with those wash of hormones, I know it's hard. The only thing I think would help is to continually be exposed to rational conversations, video, literature, content you consume and stuff. Keep exercising these kind of muscles that would best serve you potentially when you're being led by biology that hard. Armored Ghost. How many showers does it take to become human? One a day. I'm the kind of person I always shower before bed. I can't go to bed without showering. The practical side of me doesn't want to change my sheets that often. So if I go to bed clean, I change my sheets less often. Even I remember when I used to go clubbing decades ago, I couldn't just come home from a club and just drop into bed tired. Just couldn't do it. It's the same where I can't fall asleep on the couch. I'm so aware that I have to get up and go to bed. So I'm very structured. Maybe it's the self-protective control freak in me that's kind of helped me avoid stepping on some really egregious female landmines in the past. So a lot of that stuff is built in. So I can't, that's why I say, like, you can't give catch-all advice to everyone because it doesn't work with everyone's personality. I've got a different person. Ooh, it's gotten fairly dark. Hang on, let me put my exposure up. There we go. Next question. Eric, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it, man. His question is, the alpha zeta spectrum applies only to apex predators. Apologies, I answered this. Fuck. This is the stream flicking up and me forgetting where I was and trying to scroll and find it. All right. Now I know where I am. This is what happens when you're live. And again, for the reason I kind of, in a quirky way like this, because of my control freak nature. I mean, you've seen my videos. I try and make them in a certain way and polish them as much as I can. This is a good way of teaching myself to be okay with mistakes, letting go of perfection. Smubia. Oh, actually, Soren asked the question first. What's up with anti-intellectuals? Find it draining listening to the people who are black and white. I feel like so many people lack reason these days. What do you think? I think for people who don't have an intellectual or creative curiosity, being binary and being a complete yes or no, and not having an interest to wade into that sort of grey area of philosophy and conversation is an easy way to avoid it by saying it's either black or white. There's only alpha or beta. It tells you a lot about how much sympathy or empathy they have, like whether they can listen to another human being. Usually they can only listen to themselves. It might be defensive response. At the end of the day, for me, who cares? If you're the only one at the table being listening, then not my problem. I would advise not being around people like that. Okay, Smearbeer. Can a man ever be his authentic self, a human being who experiences doubt and sheds a tear from time to time around women? See, I think don't get caught up too much in this authentic self stuff. I try and stay away from it as much as possible, unless there's literally no other word other than what authentic used to mean before it got co-opted by all these self-help kind of touchy-feely meme gurus. Just focus on being you in a relaxed sense. There's nothing wrong with saying no, nothing wrong with just saying what's on your mind. Don't edit yourself, but be civil. Treat people, like, focus more on that. Let go and just kind of be okay with just expressing more of who you are. This authentic self sometimes puts too much high-minded philosophical pressure on you. So I think if you're the best you can do, and you definitely can, you have moments where you're always exercising just being honest as you can, as much as you can. Like I'm trying to do now. I don't know how much I'm succeeding, but I know I'm leaning in that direction. That then more than other times where you're playing the role, you're a lemming to get along, which I understand the societal aspects for that. You know, there's a case to be made that we do need to get along to certain regards, but cooperatively and respectfully, because I mean we're not the biggest, smartest predator. We don't have fur, so we've gotten this far. We're apex because we can get along. We are social creatures in terms of cooperating to be able to get to where we are in terms of civilization and in terms of the food chain. Siri, you have any tips on learning how to articulate yourself better? Read, write. That worked for me, but look at the material you consume, and when you talk, look at the friends you're talking with. If they're talking like morons, or if they're talking like, if the only friends you've got resemble people on reality TV, and you really want to talk better and think better, and you're leaning into the direction that we're speaking about, and you find my videos interesting, find better friends. Surround yourself with better people so you can have better conversations, so you can actually speak better. I mean, that's what I did. I didn't have many in my life. I started making videos, finding my tribe, speaking to like-minded men that I could express myself more like this. This is me articulating a better man. I felt like I couldn't speak, didn't know what I wanted to do, how to talk to women, etc., etc. Expressing who you are, to me, is a big step in actually actualizing who you are. So it's not just the frustrating here, it's actually an expressive this. Eric, thank you very much for your super chat, man. I appreciate it. I don't just say that lightly. I'm not just kind of saying thank you for the super chats because you guys are donating, but it really means a lot. I really appreciate it. Eric says, oh, it makes your questions stand out too. Not that I'm suggesting that everyone needs to donate. Eric says, when I was young, getting laid was often a good time, but I got to the most satisfaction from achieving practical goals and exploring the world. What is your favorite museums? AWM and IWM Duxford for me. I don't know what those places are. I'm assuming the M at the end stands for museum. Just the Melbourne Museum here in Melbourne. But I've never, until recently, been that interested in travel. One thing I will be grateful for my ex was that she was a big traveler, and she comfortably let me tag along and be exposed to traveling with her, which I really enjoyed, because I always didn't. Everyone in my past, whenever they talked about traveling, was your typical normie traveling. You got to go to New York, you got to go to Paris, you've got to go to London. Oh, you've just got to go to this restaurant. It's just kind of rubbish I could do in my city here. It was the same mouthwash switched over to the other side, just another country. But I've actually enjoyed, especially since I enjoy, taking my camera along, and that sort of really solitary, peaceful holiday of going to places that aren't commercial. Like a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago now, I went to Nepal, Bangkok. Bangkok is a bit more commercial, but people are really nice there. It's not like going to a Western city. So if you want to shop and go to a commercial city, the feel of Bangkok is a lot more human, pardon the pun. But sorry, I'm not a massive museum goer, but actually, you've reminded me. Sometimes you're reminded of what you might want to do. Like I should actually go to a museum. I haven't done it for a long time. It's like, when you forget a favorite meal, when someone reminds you, oh, what do you think about pasta bolognese or some meal, and you go, oh, I haven't had that for a while. You're right. So thanks, Eric, for reminding me. Remember to bracket your questions, people. Question: do you think, by Burger? Question: do you think that after the virus is done, that things will return to normal? No. Or will the government want to keep control and still have these restrictions in place? Yes, to a certain degree. Yes to the latter, no to the former. I don't think we're going back. We're never going back, really. We always adjust going forward, even if we reference the past. I don't think it's going back at all. Nick, thank you very much for your super chat, man. I very much appreciate it. Helps me see your question too. Human, how would you respond to Jordan Peterson's idea that if you don't have children, the latter half of your life will feel devoid of meaning because you don't have someone to teach and care for? Objectively speaking, look, I want to be balanced because, again, I can talk from my point of view, but objectively speaking, I don't think he's wrong to a certain degree. I know myself to a degree that I've never wanted children. I find a lot of guys want them, but it's unsafe to have them given the environment. That is the struggle. I had the benefit of not being wired to have them. Now, you can argue that could have been because of childhood trauma or whatever, but I've really had that desire cauterized for some reason. It's a neutrality for me. I like kids, but I've never had the desire to have them, simply because I don't know how. I couldn't see myself as a father. Part of me is always afraid, like, I don't know how to be this person, a father. And I'm sure a lot of men probably say, well, every guy feels like that. But I don't disagree. As I said, if you're not intellectually interested, you don't have pursuits that aren't just kind of throwaway hobbies, but really things you don't just make time for. Like, I don't just make time for these creative endeavors and writing and having time on my own to engage in my callings. They're not just throwaway pursuits. They're passions, their callings. These things are oxygen. I need to breathe these things. I need to write. I need to express myself creatively. In relationships, I always had to have time away to do my thing. Always. So I think the hard thing for guys who really are wide, typically, like most men are, and I can see that I'm kind of an odd personality, although there's more and more men like me. The question is, are more and more men like me just positionally, like in life, rather than naturally, like living ostensibly a life that looks somewhat like mine because of necessity. I live my life like mine because it's the place I ideally want to be. I've designed it this way and I'd have it no other way. And to the degree to which I would have a relationship with a woman would be that our lives fit each other. We understand each other to that level, our personalities and how much time we need together and apart and how well we can fit together. But yeah, I would agree with Jordan Peterson that for the majority of men, I think the more intelligent you are, unfortunately, you can see that the environment's dangerous. So you sensibly avoid stepping too far in a direction that you can't come back from. But yeah, if you're not philosophically interested and you don't have that muscle, you don't have friends, you don't have passions and callings that can occupy your time, you don't even have a pet or a dog, it will really be hard for you. And that's why I think philosophically, a lot of people go through, you want to call it a midlife crisis or an awakening. You're looking for meaning in philosophy because family will give it to you automatically. You don't have to think. You don't have to find meaning. It cauterizes that. It abates that feeling. But certainly, yeah, I would agree that for the majority of men, for all of the criticisms people have of Jordan Peterson, there's a reason why he became popular so quickly. He is needed, especially by men today. I like the guy. I really do like the guy. I think he gets unfairly criticized a lot, even to the degree that he's religious. I don't really hold anything like any of that against him because he talks about it in an even-handed way. You can tell he's talking to the general public, and it's not that he's trying to hide talking about sort of the aspects that he knows other people wouldn't understand, but he just has faith in it, right? But short answer, I agree with Jordan Peterson more or less, objectively speaking. Ryan, thank you for the super chat, the donation. I really appreciate it, man. Ryan's question is, I've definitely felt that more people are living in a fear mentality these days. Also, just thank you for the work you put in your videos. Oh, thanks, man. That wasn't a question, but thank you for the donation and the shout out. I appreciate it. You guys keep consuming, watching my content and being a part of it. And importantly, leaving really great comments. What I'm really proud of, if you want to say I have a bit of an ego, is the discussion that follows on underneath the videos, you guys furthering conversations and just really, really intelligent addendums and extensions of the topic being talked about. Really, really great. So much so that like I'm going to, as regularly as I can, just make a couple of just videos showcasing how brilliant some of your comments are, in like I have in a couple of videos previously. So because I think they're important, they shouldn't be lost in the comment section. We can kind of ignore them through the stream of social media messaging. Some of them are too poignant to let disappear. Burger, how can a young man begin to not stress in life, even though I have so much little experience in life? Stay open-minded. Look at the content you're absorbing. Surround yourself with good people. Find your tribe. Find like-minded people. Don't tolerate, some of the typical societal, and even not just societal, like men, women, like at the beginning of this stream, even guys especially. I find that most insidious. I expect that attitude from women. That's what women are like. But when you see men posturing, competing for women's attention by, oh, you're not alpha enough, bro. That is so overtly, I don't want to use those cliche words to sort of belittle those kind of guys, but it's so overtly posturing to position yourself for a woman's kind of approval. Like, oh, look at that alpha, look at that lion. I'll go towards him. Isn't he sexy? Don't care, man. Really. Real name's not given. Back when I was in high school, altruism was seen as suspicious. I had nothing to gain from helping others. Why do people assume I had ill intentions? Yeah, back then, because it needed to make sense. Being sensibly kind and rationally kind, that's really noble. When, like, if you say, I helped this person that was in need on the street, and you relay a story and someone goes, well, that was really nice. But if you kind of, what people want to do, especially the left, is no matter how badly they behave, society still gives them sympathy. No matter how much they riot in the streets, it's not their fault because they're like children. They can't help themselves. It's because of the past, because all throughout history, women were it's like, no, you're acting like a child. If people are trying to say, okay, all right, you've got a point about history. Let's talk about now, how can we move forward together? I haven't done anything to you, so I can't apologize for my actions. I might be able to apologize for my ancestors' actions, but me, I have done nothing to you. If me, the individual, you want me to treat you, the individual, better, and your current community, then respect me. But you can't expect and say, respect me now, but I'm disrespecting you from the past, where you didn't even exist. In DNA you might have, but you know what I mean? It's so childish. It's kind of trying to justify an excuse of treating others uncooperatively and unjustly. Just simply, like, I can't pat a dog that's always biting me. No matter how much I love dogs, if the dog's always barking and biting at me, let it starve, let it die. Don't care. Seriously, if you're not going to be a civil person, I can't have a conversation with you. If you're always like hammering me with your point of view and trying to shame me until you get what you want, I can't speak, or you won't even listen to anything I say. And I can't actually cooperatively give you what you want or have a conversation with you and try and work things out for the betterment of your life and my life now, then I'm wasting my time. Mikhail Lucid Dream, what do you think about prostitution? I live in Latin America, and here it's legal. I pay for not taking the drama just to enjoy sexual drive every now and then. My friends say it's not moral. I don't see anything wrong with it if you choose to do it. If you kind of know it's... Think about it this way. The guy that's actually paying an escort or a prostitute, I'm pretty sure if he could get it naturally, easily, if they look, at worst, you could have you could be socially awkward, and at best you could be rational, like you sound, and it's cheaper to get an escort, less headaches, your life isn't going to be compromised. Don't forget, like, look, I won't go into that. Basically, to answer your question, I see nothing wrong with it. I think the normies, and especially women, don't like it. Again, back to the saying, what's the difference between sex you pay for and sex you get for free? The sex you get for free costs more. So I don't see anything wrong with it. Again, look at your behavior over the long term, because the more you pattern yourself and get used to just, whether it's hooking up today or having prostitutes or whatever, if you ever want kids in the future, or if you ever think, oh, I'll have a normal relationship now, but I'm going to kind of just do this. I'm going to go on holiday for a decade and just have prostitutes, or I'm going to literally, like women do, go traveling for a couple of decades. You pattern yourself after any behavior, it gets baked in. Your convenient fantasy later on won't probably work, because you haven't exercised yourself. You're already come out of the oven baked in a certain way. So I would just be cautious about doing it so often, unless you're someone that knows for a fact, you're old enough to know that for all of your life, you've never wanted kids, family, you don't like relationships, you can't, and this is the only way, this is something that balances your life out. Do whatever works for you, but don't lie to yourself. When you go to sleep at night, if you feel alone, anxious, you don't like your life, listen to that, man. But no, nothing wrong. I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, structurally, romantic relationships, your average relationships, escorts, prostitution, I don't see much structural difference between them. You're paying one way or another. If you don't have money, if you don't have a job, most women won't want a relationship with you. Mark T, thanks for the super chat, man. Token of appreciation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Way to spend the night. I'm assuming you're in Great way to spend the night. I'm assuming you're in the US. Take it or leave it. It's my feeling on donating too small doses. Look, any donation, guys, I appreciate it. A gold coin or dollar bills is all great. All goes back into the channel. Look, the way things are now in lockdown, it's like Nazi Germany in 1942. Or France. And yeah, I don't know if my job will last in the near future. Who knows? I don't know what the world's going to be like, but got to be okay with it. Life goes on. So thank you for the donations and I see them as metaphorical. Let me buy this beer, human. Thanks for the video. As I said previously, one of men's problem is we don't know how to say thank you. We don't know how to receive. We're givers all the time. That's where we get taken advantage of. So I know one thing in my life in the recent years is learning to be comfortable with just saying thank you and receiving. And especially objectively, if you're giving, like I put a lot of work into the videos. They're free, so you don't have to give me anything. But when you guys do, you tip me something, you guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. So I'm learning to say thanks. We should all learn to receive, guys. That'd be one piece of advice. That could be the title of the video. Learn to receive as a man. Soren Kierkegaard, back from the dead. His question: have you read Soren Kierkegaard's book, your book? Either or, highly recommended. I would love your analysis of the book. I've read snippets from that very, very smart fellow. He's really good. Especially some of his observations about the opposite sex. I think he was the first one I read in terms of philosophers where he overtly just came out and said, like, he had an answer for everything in life and a really clear and honest answer. That guy thought really well about. I like the fact that he thought about everyday life, but he the thing that stuck out about him in terms of quotes was that he said, I've been able to come up with answers for everything, but with women, I can't actually come up with any answers. I'm paraphrasing, but somehow his response was, you can't understand women. It's really hard. Somehow they're a moving target. He could answer every question except for women. So yeah, but I must read more about him. More of him, sorry. Any particular book you could recommend? Let me know. Mr. Highway, I find ideas that seem to make perfect sense, so I adjust my psyche to accept them. Later on, I find alternative info that contradicts my previous beliefs. How do you protect your mind from bad ideas? I think that's the good courage, not just to do stuff, but to be open to the ideas first and not be triggered or offended like a lot of the left does, or left-minded people. I don't like labeling people as left or anything, but just so we all know what I'm talking about, those kind of people. Don't be offended by any challenge to sort of your beliefs. If anything, it allows you to kind of to sharpen and to think, do I still believe what I believe? It trains you to take the punch, I suppose. It's like a boxer. After a while, you don't feel it. So you're always open to conversations. You never get offended. Adjusting yourself and your psyche, I think, is a good thing, because the more you keep being open to different points of view, but then, for instance, the basic case, you listen to, say, a level-headed feminist. There's not many of them around, but generally they tend to be older. If you can have a civil conversation and you're always open to being challenged, you recognize what a conversation is as opposed to a debate, then it allows you to kind of go, I believe this, right? Say, for instance, me, I believe a certain number of things, manosphere related. If I'm going to always be open to conversations, no matter where from, as long as they're civil, I'm always prepared to bring my values out and go, okay, judge them. I believe in them for the hopes of me being better. And what happens is afterwards, a lot of the times, they've just proven why you believe what you believe and why you're right in the first place. But sometimes they actually make you rethink and you adjust what you think, or you completely throw out old habits that are no longer useful. And it's great because sometimes we hold on to old ideas, we bake them in, and it's kind of something that's hard for us to move forward with, which you might be having some frustrations with, and I do from time to time. So being okay with being as open as possible to civil conversations, recognizing what's a debate, what's sadism, as opposed to sort of a cooperative conversation. Did that make sense? Eric, AWM stands for Australian War Memorial, and IWM, Imperial War Museum. They hit you in your male gut like a Spetsnaz video. Changed my life. Oh yeah, I was actually going to say. Made me think of Spetsnaz straight away. Why does war and combat make everyone think of Spetsnaz? I think it's the kind of the hard stoicism that people really respect from Spetsnaz. Sometimes you need to be dunked in ice water to sort of clarify everything. No, I haven't been to a war museum. That's definitely something I should do. I should write that down so I don't forget. I write a lot down. Could be old age. It's one of these things you get excited and you think, I'll remember that because it's so exciting and important. And then some other excitement enters your brain that just erases. It's like a track. It's like a tape that just kind of keeps recording forward. Christopher, what event triggered or pushed you to go your own way? Who hurt you? With a smiley face. Wasn't one big thing. There were successive things. When I moved out of home around late 20s, around 30, basically just the new environment, having to be responsible for myself because there's no one else to take care of me. So I have to actually think responsibly. It's not just about paying bills. It's about how you operate. Like there's no one I can rely on except for me now. So 30s were a gradual progression, a lot of reading, a lot of necessary self-reflection, but that also made me realize I really love literature. I love story, I love narrative. I was always into creativity, but that just kind of threw kerosene on that flame. A big turning point was in my early 40s. I've mentioned this a few times, so I won't belabor the point and bore people again, but basically early 40s. I designed my sort of bachelor life to that point, to great paying job, working in the corporate environment, which I didn't really like the people I was dealing with because it was just a lot of all the stuff we can't stand looking on TV. It's basically reality TV personas in your workplace, which is, oh God, annoying. So you spend your time amongst people, but alone. You don't feel like you're around anyone who's simpatico with you. So I was working in that environment, getting paid well. I had a your hot girlfriend, great sex, buying everything I wanted, but my world felt black and white. And because I'm a philosophical fellow, and that stuff is not just sort of theater to me, it's actually meaningful. It informs my ethics and how I want to live. It's why I choose certain things. It's why I decide to enjoy a camera, because of how I want to live through it and what I want to get out of it. It's not, I don't buy things or do things to put a band-aid on anxiety. Maybe to a certain degree, but I kind of know consciously what I want to do through it, why I buy things, why I eat foods, why they comfort me, why friends matter to me. I can recognize a good personality. It's not just someone's pretty or exciting and that I'm less alone. It's the quality. That's the word, probably. I recognize the quality of things more than other people. Most people just like quantity and not being alone. I'm prepared to forego quantity for the meaning behind it, the substance. But yeah, at that point in life, I basically let go of the job. I said, look, no, I want my life to be meaningful. I want to really enjoy my life more. It helped that I saw my parents getting older. I wanted to be around them more, and I'm glad I did, because I'd be regretting a lot right now if I didn't change. My father passed away a few months ago. If I was still living the way I was a few years ago and not seeing them as often and kind of going, I can't catch up for dinner to all my family. I'll see you next time, and that next time never happens. I would be going through a lot of soul searching in terms of the son father dynamic. So again, I'll repeat: be as honest as you can be in your life. You got to pay the bills. I get it, but as honestly as you can be. If you feel yourself being drawn to that, write it down on paper in 2 columns: pros and cons. 1, going your own way. What are going to be the pros? Staying where you are. What are the cons? X for sure. Matt says, how can a guy escape his parents' house who, with no degree and working dead-end jobs, place a way too expensive to live alone? Places are a way too expensive to live alone. It seems like I have to work 2 jobs just to pay the bills to live. So you're paying the bills at home with your parents. I would only suggest try and find a way, like share with roommates if you have to. If the environment's that bad, change your environment. If you know without a doubt it's your environment that's causing most of your misery, change your environment. With me, I'm grateful I had a fairly cool upbringing, great parents, and I tried to recreate that environment here on my own. So, yeah, I would say change your environment. Real name's not given. Have you ever been in a life or death situation? I was nearly hit by a falling tree today. Ooh. Lucky you weren't. Yeah. I'll tell this story. I don't think I've ever told this before. One thing that exacerbated my deification of the female in my mind, like thinking how wonderful women are, is when I was really young, I could, while I was learning to swim, and I might have been about between the ages of 5 to 7, I think. I can't remember. I couldn't really swim barely. I was just learning, and I would always be at the low end of the pool, shoulder height, trying to swim and so forth. My father was trying to teach me. One day at the pools, again, I've got a fairly rebellious nature. I decided, no, I'm going to jump in the deep end. I jumped in and I started paddling, and I was struggling, I was flapping around, but then I started going under, and I was already halfway across the deep end of the pool, and I was going under and I couldn't swim. My mother jumped in and saved me, and she can't swim at all. They had sort of the lifeguards pull her out, but her instinct as a mum she sacrificed her own life for me to pull me out. I almost drowned and died. My mother saved me. So there's a psychological thing that, like, I've gone into my own past to actually try and piece together why I related to women in ways that I wasn't happy with, where the men I respected didn't. And something like that scar of the mother that loved me, she was willing to die for me, the degree to which, like, how much she cares for me. I really tried to find that in women, and like I believed every woman was like my mother. That's how much work I had to do to come to terms with what women were. It was hard to cut that umbilical cord, because in a sense it's kind of like cutting away your mother that cares about you to that degree. That's when I nearly died. That's one example. So I never told that story before. Exclusive. Wet Palette Warrior, have you noticed that women are only interested in a narrow self-referential history, such as family history, whilst men have a deep and broad interest in history? Yeah. Yep, I do. If If it doesn't relate to them personally, something that they've actually experienced in their life, it's kind of like in one ear, out the other. Whereas with men, they can be interested in just some abstract idea. I mean, we wouldn't have split the atom. We wouldn't have created these things that ostensibly, like these guys that were just chipping away at some nerdy thing when they were doing it. And if someone asked them, why are you doing it? It's just like, I don't know. There's something at the bottom of this. I'm getting progress. I don't know what I'll find, but I'm digging. Like men are the explorers for the sole reason of exploring. Women aren't like that. If there's no point, they're not going to waste their time. And that's symbolic for a lot of stuff, including relationships with them. The thing in and of itself, they don't care about. If you're a nice guy in and of yourself and they're enjoying their relationship, yeah, great. But where's the target? What am I going to get out of this? A man can get out of it the journey. I will commit myself to this because this is great. There's something in this. There may not be, but I will enjoy the journey. Women don't care about the journey. They care about destinations. Eric, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Selfishly speaking, and I wouldn't, Eric asks, selfishly speaking, and I wouldn't put you through it if you wouldn't benefit, but I'd love to see you and Spetsnaz take a walk through the Australian War Memorial as a man. I'll never forget it. It's about, I'm not going to force Spetsnaz to show his face. It's about how you could actually film. Oh, you talk maybe audio. Maybe we could hook each other up with lav mics. That'd actually be good and less intrusive. You don't want to be walking around there with a camera. Yeah, you're right. Actually, that might be an interesting project. Look, if Spetsnaz ever comes down to Melbourne, Spetsnaz, let's go to the War Memorial, and I'll hook up some lav mics between us, and we'll record a conversation walking through the War Memorial. That's a great suggestion, Eric. Actually, and I'm pretty sure Spetsnaz would like doing it too. I don't want to speak for him, and please don't put pressure on him. But from what I know about him, I'd say he'd be up for that. Genesis von Kegler. How much time do you spend on creative endeavors throughout the week? Well, I've been on lockdown for the last couple of weeks, and if you guys have noticed, I think I've pumped out like 12 videos in a week and a half or something. So I've got a lot of time. So I'm always producing stuff. I'm tinkering with this stuff all the time. You can imagine when I was in a serious relationship that I would be dying to spend, I needed time for my creative pursuits. The amount of videos I've brought out because I've been in lockdown, I can't go anywhere, tells you how much it's in me. And to a degree, because I'm wired this way, I might have it easier than some guys. Yet it doesn't absolve all of us from being as responsible as we can be, given our situation in life. I just have somewhere I can jump. I have a really nice pool I can jump into, my own creativity, that a lot of guys don't. And it doesn't need to be creative. It can be, say, physical, sport, walking. It could be a business. A lot of guys are business orientated for something to do. At the end of the day, we're trying to occupy ourselves before the grave with something to do. So whether you want to call it purpose or meaning, I think they're just kind of verbal, intellectual justifications to exude a feeling that'll make us feel better about spending our time doing something. We are all just spending time before the grave. Try and make it meaningful, guys. Whether you want to have a family, whether you want to pursue something else, it's all spending time before the grave. I hope that's not nihilistic, but it's kind of as basic as it can be for me. And then create something meaningful in that space. Chris Kirby. He has to go. His daughter's calling. Well, thanks for stopping by, Chris. if divorce, you know what, is removed as an option for women in marriage by the laws, wouldn't that make marriage attractive enough for men? Yeah, fix the laws. The environment's less dangerous, and men will risk simply because of the natural things they have to deal with men and women in relationships. But because you don't have to have a relationship with a child plus her overbearing and ruthless father, which is the government and the law, it's kind of like, no, I'm not going to have a relationship with that person and her family and her father. That's the way I see it. Get rid of the father, get rid of the law. Yeah, certainly. Make the laws fair. Get rid of the unfair laws towards men. Yeah, men and women will get along a lot better. They'll be having more relationships, regardless of how much a lot of this stuff won't go away in terms of male-female nature. You'll be able to tolerate it because at the end of it, you'll just be going through the normal loss of romantic heartbreak. She didn't like me. We couldn't get along. I didn't like her. Whatever it might be. But it's not going to be so unfair, legally speaking. Men aren't afraid of women. Men are afraid of what the law will do to them through women. Chris sent a donation. Thank you, man. He says, not sure what the tea costs. Actually, I've got a tea here as well. Green tea and peppermint. Here's one on me. Thank you for the drink, Chris. A bag of this tea actually is about the same price as your donation, so thank you. John says, I've always paid for sex, yet I've never been with a working girl. Never a truer word spoken. Yeah. Look, all relationships are transactional. You can kind of say this, a really good conversation, like-minded people being able to talk, there's a transaction involved. But I think what guys don't appreciate is that romantic ones with the opposite sex, it's like, no, it's not about that at all. Where it's a complete lie. It's the complete opposite. You're told it's not about exactly what it is about. And a smart person feels insulted. His intelligence is insulted. I would never do whatever. And then you exactly do it. Or you don't want to get rid of the laws that will allow you to. It's like, no, I don't want to get rid of those laws, but trust me, I never will. They get this giddy pleasure of having their finger over the button and going, what, don't you trust me? Like I promise I won't, tee-hee. How about I get rid of the button, then we can both be happy? Oh no, then you won't be happy because you won't have that giddy pleasure of having your finger over the red button. Burger Cook. Question, are there any books that have thoroughly enjoyed and recommended? On my blog on the right-hand panel, I've actually put a few book recommendations. I'll keep updating it as I think of them. A great fictional book that I really love his writing, you might too, is Jim Goad, any one of his books, but particularly the book Shit Magnet. Fantastic. Really, really good. Funny. But in terms of philosophical, trying to think of something I don't normally maybe say. I can't. I don't want to waste time. Basically, Pleasures of the Damned, a collection of poems by Charles Bukowski. Sorry, I keep bumping the microphone. Bad technique. Burger has a question. I wish to become a storyteller, author later in life. I tend to get sparking ideas, but then quickly burn out before another one comes along later. Any ways to change this? Is this kind of, I know there's a lot of writers that say they have writer's block. I don't know if you're referring to some of that. You wish to become a writer. See, to me, you're either compelled to write or you're not. That's the way I see it. You can't make yourself a writer, or maybe you can, because sometimes you're resistant to even doing your hobbies. If you can just get to the table and start, the simple exercise of doing it will just kind of give you momentum. You say you get a spark, but then it burns out. I would just say just keep sitting down and writing out that spark and seeing if it keeps stopping before it even starts. I'm not sure. I don't experience that. I have a writer's flood. I don't have writer's block. Sorry to be so glib in the answer. But when I write ideas down in scripts, I have to actually hold myself back. I write too much. Most of my videos, even the short ones that go for 4 to 10 minutes, either the conversation is double or triple, and I've edited it down to the essentials, or when I write more scripted videos, I pare it back to a similar degree, sometimes more, because when I write, I write a lot. I just kind of go bleh and let everything come out. And then the rewriting process is kind of contracting it back to its kind of poetic clarity, like the essential items. I'm not sure, other than I would just say when you get the sparks, write them down, and just hopefully, I haven't heard too many times that this doesn't happen. The more you sit down and actually give it time and attention and see if the momentum carries you, it should increase over time. If it always gets cut off, it might be some sort of psychological thing. I'm not sure, man. Sorry I couldn't answer it probably to the degree that I should. Mr. Highway says, Eric Wade, Human was asking why we associate war with Spetsnaz. I was just suggesting that it might have something to do with his name being a military unit. That too. Yeah, I suppose that's obvious. That's the obvious forefront. But having spoken to him and you look at his content and how he conducts himself, you can understand why he picked Spetsnaz. Hopefully you can see why I picked Human. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, so I'll start wrapping it up at the moment. I always want to keep it about an hour, but we keep going because I have no problem going. I've got nowhere to be. But it's just I want people to kind of be comfortable in watching it. But we get so many great questions. Keep them coming. So home stretch, ask all your questions. Throw me all the super chats you feel like giving me because I'm going to wrap it up soon. Yeah, there's a few guys around Australia, fellow Aussies. All right. Smebia, do you feel art, music, and literature are dying? I think no. Yes and no. Quality, yes. The desire for it, no. Because you see a lot. So, say there's a lot of creativity towards the left of the spectrum, but I think the way they're expressing it is counterproductive. There's not much kind of bravery and responsibility. The best art actually includes those factors. So I think there's a need for more, because within creativity, especially writing, because creativity almost sort of necessitates being honest in what you're expressing, whether it's music, art, writing, whatever. So there is more, I think, a desire for people to be honest these days because they're tired of the lies. Survival's coming more into it, so you have to be honest. So I think art is more important than ever, but the quality of it especially is coming to focus. You can't just kind of masturbate art. You can't just do abstract, it's flicking paint on the canvas to be figurative about things. You have to be more literally creative, whether you're writing, making music, like much more intentional. You can't just be emotional about things. We've been calling too much emotion and labeling it as art. It needs to be a lot more conscious these days. And I think the way the world's now turning, I'm thankful that I hope that'll be the case. Do women even like men? They do, but I think they resent men, especially today, because they've burnt their bridges with men and it's out in the open. And they're all exercising the muscle of, I don't need you, I got my own money, girl power. All the everything's kind of blowing smoke up their asses. And it's a little bit shaming. How do you now say in the same breath, you're a moron, I laugh at you, you're funny, not you're funny, you're ridiculous, you're a clown, I hate you, you're basically being a real wretch, but at the same time going, love me. It's kind of a split personality that's driving them insane. It's driving us insane, but they like men, but women are their own worst enemies. I wouldn't want to be a woman. Especially today. A lot of you guys might think, well, women get everything today. Short term, yeah, but I would rather still be a man today. You get short term pain, but long term, your life is better. Ted, thanks for the live stream. Myself and many others really enjoy the connection with the Rational Guy, especially during lockdown. Fun questions. Do you believe in aliens? Yes, I do. I do. There's too much evidence that would make me think otherwise. I think kind of hanging out like this is great because this is what guys need, I think. And it's not just I'm trying to fill a market. Showing my face, being more honest. Guys are invisible enough, being only able to talk behind monikers and closed screens and being anonymous, that, excuse me, it's manly behavior. That what men need is discussion, mentorship, conversation. We can barely speak, we're censored. The healthiest thing to do is talk amongst men, to form social circles, find your tribe, being able to learn how to express yourself. I mean, you guys are helping me as much as I'm helping you, but I knew when I created my channel, started doing this stuff, all the stuff I'm doing isn't by design. It's because, to the degree that it is by design, it's because I feel like it's the right thing to do. My instinct tells me men need to be talking with each other. We need to be hanging out, speaking, sharpening each other, and coming away with being kind of better individuals as men. So when you step out into the world, you can act, speak, and have the vocabulary where less and less of the world can take advantage of you. You can always consciously be who you are as much as you can. And this comes from this kind of exercise, these conversations, being righteous. So Benjamin, my expiry lottery ticket video, in his opinion, was my best. It's my most popular. I think it's got like, what is it, like 300,000 something views or so. I can't even remember how much, like a lot. Over the top. But I was being sort of very blunt and sarcastic. I was being honest still. I still stand by what I said. But no matter, even at the start, I said, I qualified it and said, look, ladies, if you don't resemble the woman I'm about to make fun of, or the woman I'm sort of about to criticize sarcastically, then more power to you. And then I sort of went on my rant. But they were the good old days. Look, it's not that I still stand by those videos, but I don't think it's constructive for you. I don't care about what women think about it. As a man, if you sit there just throwing stones at women, it doesn't do any good for you guys. I'd rather have better relationships with my friends, whether they're male or female. I can't lie. I enjoy, if I ever do have a relationship in the future with a woman, I enjoy the touch and proximity of a woman. But I'm happy to not have it as well. So I just want it if it's honest, and I can't sort of be honest if I'm not completely honest about the kind of people and the way I want to express myself. Nothing good comes from being an aggressive a-hole. It's great entertainment for people, but yeah, it's short-term fuel burning. And certainly sometimes to vent your frustrations is necessary. But if you continually, every minute of every day, you're that guy, you poison yourself over time, is if that's the only thing you're exuding. Let me just say that. Red Rebus. Women are mean, men are stupid. Discuss. For me, it means men think with their dick and women know it and take advantage. A self-perpetuating feedback loop. Yeah, you pretty much said what I thought. Hey, Donna. Donna actually says, 100% agree. Expired lotto ticket is one of the best. I sent it to delusional friends, mates of mine, delusional female friends, female mates of mine. You're one. Look, Donna, you're one of the rare ones. I wouldn't incite kind of an aggressive conversation if I were you. I mean, you're just going to create conflict in your life. But that video is both meant to be instructional and fun. It's my earlier videos, I was trying to convey, without the jokes, what comedy did. You know, turning the volume up to full, being sarcastic, to tell you bluntly what I thought, and be a bit acerbic about it. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, Donna. You're probably the only woman that did. I can't imagine you have very many female friends. I'm not saying that you should. Desley, thank you for the donation, man. I really appreciate it. You're the best. E says, hey, human. Hey, E. Eric actually says to Donna, we're at a very awkward crossroads. We either drop the aggressive pretenses and figure out a mutual understanding, or we tumble down the abyss. Glad I'm almost 60. That's funny. As you get older, like, physically things are kind of, you get little pains and things are harder. I know when I go for a run, when I come back, I'm sorer than I used to be. I could go for like a run in the morning, a run in the evening and feel nothing. Now I go for one run and I feel nicely sore afterwards. But yeah, there's a crossroads now. Men and women have to get along, otherwise the species doesn't exist. So basically now it's to the degree that men aren't going to forget how women acted. Will women be able to acknowledge the bridges they've personally burnt and not offhand go, oh yeah, women did this, but it wasn't me. But there are a lot of women, if you ask them, as I've mentioned, you go on a date, women will always present themselves as, I'm not like that, I'm a Walt. Then you start digging about how they conducted themselves with their ex-partners and what they believe, and they are basically a feminist with a lowercase f. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, women will need to sort of start to have a give and take that's sort of mutually beneficial more into the future. I know a lot of guys don't like to hear it because, like, nah, I'm not forgiving women. Fine, that's okay. And there's a lot of things I don't forgive any kind of behavior. So it's not me not forgiving women anymore. But if that woman actually presents herself in front of me, I won't forgive that anymore. It's not that I'm not forgiving the women in my past. And I've had women say, oh, well, because human, you've been burnt by this woman that did this, you're judging me by that. And I'm saying, like, too effing right I am. Like, I won't accept that behavior anymore. I know what my standards are. So I'm judging you. I'm not judging you based on someone else. I'm judging the behavior that I've been through, and I know clearly where I stand on it, as I hope she would too. You know, that she's not going to go out with a person that's not like me anymore. She's not going to make that. She wants something better for herself, or someone that's particularly like me. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but all right, let's wrap this up. I'm going to fly through the questions before we say goodbye. All right. I think that's it. Let's call it a day. Last question, that'll be it by E. Do you have any thoughts about how to best motivate yourself to work out and or be more physically active when not actively trying to pursue women? I'm 38, 5'9", 190 pounds, heaviest in my life. I know for me, I make working out as easy as possible so I can't avoid it. So I treat working out like washing the dishes or pressing the button on the dishwash on the washing machine and washing my clothes. Just something to get out of the way. So I rarely go to the gym. I've actually bought, you know, a dumbbell set, an adjustable dumbbell set. I've got sort of a total gym, a cable system in my living room. So I've basically got them here at home. So I have no excuse not to work out, because when you go to the gym, it's kind of like, well, I'm taking it seriously, but then you've got to plan out 2 or 3 hours to kind of get ready, pack your bag, go drive to the gym, go to the gym, you do a workout because you're there, and then you come home, have a shower. It's like, it's a lot, and it's easy to find it hard. But if you structure it in a way where for instance, I'll aim to work out every single day. And my version of working out is at least 10 to 20 minutes, one body part. So if I'm cooking dinner, while it's cooking, I'll do a bicep workout, or I'll do cable flies or something. So basically 10 or 15 minutes. So every day I'm working out, or at least I'll make sure, for instance, I listen to a lot of, say, more spoken word YouTube content. Like I'll download the content onto my phone, and because I want to enjoy it, I will try and go for a walk and listen to Stardusk's video or Spetsnaz's or somebody's while I'm on a walk. So again, I'm making it easy to enjoy that. So make the activities easy. Don't make them big military exercises, because it's natural to every bone in your body is going to resist it, unless you're masochistically inclined. Thank you, guys. I will see you next time, and let's do it very soon. See ya. Bye.